So here's a quick warning. This video is entirely my opinion, and I know that may come as a surprise to some people, but what I have to say on the subject is not the final thing to be said, and it is by no means objective, even though I do my best to make it that way. So with that being said, please let me know what you think down in the comment section below, and if you do end up liking the video, be sure to subscribe. So Call of Duty has always been one of the main games on my shelf, and one of my most consistently played franchises. I buy it pretty much every year, at some point even if it's months out, and I really haven't enjoyed a Call of Duty game since Black Ops 3, and my favorite Call of Duty games are still the classics, Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, Modern Warfare 2, all that shit. This game at times feels like an older Call of Duty for me. It feels like the classic formula has been improved upon and not altered in any impactful ways, as every game since Call of Duty Ghosts has tried and failed to do. With that being said, this iteration of COD feels great, at least for a while if you're solo or maybe for your first few games on. And as far as the alpha goes, I'm enjoying my short time with it, but no matter how good the game is, there is always one thing that can potentially ruin it, that being SBMM or skill-based matchmaking. Now this is one area that is very contentious in video games in general. I haven't really heard of it too much outside of the Call of Duty community, aside from maybe Apex and some games here and there, but since it is a prominent issue in one of, if not the biggest franchise on the planet in terms of gaming, modern day, it is certainly worth a discussion. And this is where I feel a lot of people have really stumbled when talking about skill-based matchmaking. Why is it bad, or is it actually good? No one from what I have seen has adequately addressed this issue. You either have those who assume it's bad or those who assume it's good, and all I can find are half-baked arguments to support either side and hardly any rebuttals. In my mind, the answer to whether skill-based matchmaking is good or bad is actually irrelevant. If you're like me, you'll be more interested in the why behind if it's good or bad. And I will return to that point later in the video, but for now, try to stick with me because this is where shit gets controversial. So is SBMM bad? Well, if you say yes, you are likely to use a similar form of reasoning as this. Argument 1. Skill-based matchmaking is bad because there is no way to know if you are improving, because you keep getting placed in higher skill lobbies the better you get, so you may always have around a 1.2 or a 1.3 KD or something similar. Argument 2. With skill-based matchmaking, the vast majority of lobbies match you against players of similar skill level and it becomes difficult to do well, so you can't just relax and crack open a beer, even if it is fermented piss water. There are people who are angry with poor connections and other things related to skill-based matchmaking, but that takes issue with the implementation of SBMM, not SBMM itself, so I won't really touch on that. Now these two arguments are actually very similar. They follow the form I want to achieve X, where X is either improving your skills or relaxing, and SBMM restricts me from doing that. But my main question when looking at this argument is, why does it matter what you want, especially in something as trivial as a video game? Now let's hold that thought because I will return to it later. So is skill-based matchmaking bad? If you say no, you are likely to use this reasoning. Argument 1, I am not a very good player and I don't want to get matched against higher level players that are much better than me and will therefore crush me and ruin my enjoyment. Argument 2, I want close competitive games. I don't want some games where I win easily. Aside from these arguments, I have heard people in this camp accuse others of just wanting to crush everyone in pub stomp, which means to beat up on people that are in public matches, and that's basically an ad hominem attack, and that's not going to be factored into any of the arguments here. I am going to throw out this second argument entirely actually because it is irrelevant. It is nullified by the fact that most Call of Duty games have a ranked mode, which implements skill-based matchmaking, so that's a knockout blow for that argument, as there's already a solution to wanting competitive matches. You want a competitive match? Go play ranked. What's funny is that this side uses a different argument form consisting of I don't want X, where X is getting your ass kicked, and skill-based matchmaking keeps that from happening. Whereas the arguments for SBMM being bad are all about what you do want, these are all about what you don't want. So if you're a fan of SBMM, you don't want to get your ass kicked, and if you don't like SBMM, you want to do better, or you want to relax. Who wins this debate then? Well, I have one last point to make, and this is going to be entirely my own, which I believe is a knockout punch, and for which side, well, we'll just have to see. Now this is called a bell curve. A bell curve simply represents the distribution of a certain quality amongst a given population. This bell curve is actually very simple, but I think it'll work for this purpose. This curve could be said to represent the distribution of skill in the Call of Duty community. The people on the left are the least skilled, the middle are average and slightly below or above, and the people on the right are the highly skilled players. In a perfectly randomized public matchmaking system, where this graph is representative of the COD community, we can deduce the likelihood of running into lobbies with a higher average skill level above your skill level. It's actually really simple. The closer to the left on this curve you are, the more likely your opponents will be better than you. But the farther to the right you move, i.e. the better you get, the more likely it becomes that people will be less skilled than you. So the likelihood of someone on the far right of the graph running into someone on the far left is actually very likely, because they're both extremes and have the least number of players in them. In fact, the likelihood of a pro running into a complete noob is the same as a pro running into another pro. Another way we might put this is, the skill of a lobby evens out perfectly. Noobs are more likely to get smacked and pros are more likely to do the smacking. On the bell curve, the desires and wants of all the parties even out. People on the right of the middle do well more often, and the people on the left do well less often. And what's wrong with that? So that was the graph for non-SBMM. If we were to have a graph for SBMM, it would look something like this. A flat line. In this way, everyone is getting their equal with slight deviations. So in this way, people on the right win less often as with the bell curve, and people on the left win more often than with the bell curve. Remember when I mentioned the why behind whether SBMM is good or bad? Well, this is where it becomes relevant. So this essentially turns into a quality of outcome versus a quality of opportunity debate, and which you prefer. If you're not familiar with those terms, quality of opportunity just means that everyone starts from the same position and that outcomes are distributed unequally, as in the bell curve. And quality of outcome means that everybody gets the same outcome regardless of how good they are or how much effort they put in. I'm not going into that debate here, but I hope that this video has inspired someone out there to look more deeply into these topics. So what I will say is this: with the bell curve or no skill-based matchmaking, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Even though all outcomes are not distributed equally, there is joy that you get in doing better. I remember when I first started playing Call of Duty, and that's really what launched me into multiplayer games in general, is I was bad at them. I was not good. And I would watch YouTube videos and see the things that people could pull off, and I was saying, wow, that's great, I would love to snipe like that. And then I would go and practice and I would get better and I would feel myself moving up the bell curve. And that's a terrific feeling. And it's exactly why I started this channel, was to help people get better and improve and feel that satisfaction through utilizing strategies and refining techniques. But with SBMM implemented, I can't help but get overwhelmed by a feeling of hopelessness. Gone are the days when I would feel inspired to get better, and that's why COD for me and a lot of other players has become dull and unenjoyable. What's the point in trying to improve if your competition improves with you? What's the point in starting a business if all of your profits get taken away from you? What is the point in working out if you don't get more fit? Maybe you do it for the pure enjoyment of it, but getting something out of it is gonna help you sustain that motivation for the long term. And it's gonna help you get a deeper sense of satisfaction. And for anyone ready to accuse me of just wanting to pump stop people and just beat up people, that's not true, okay? I enjoy the process even in things that I suck at. I have a desire to get better and to improve if I see a reason to, and if I see that improvement is possible. But what is the point of trying to learn and trying to grow if you don't think you get anything out of it? That's totally the opposite of my channel. That's totally the opposite of my mindset. And if the point of life is to grow, to learn, and to enjoy the journey, could you imagine living in a way that makes two of those things, to grow and to learn, damn near impossible? That would just be miserable. With that being said, well, some people, but what I hear, this video is entirely my opinion, kind of. This video, so here's, what the fuck's the light doing? Sort of. I do my best. Oh my god, I'm gonna flip out.